think that as entrepreneurs, as business leaders, you should micromanage. How many of you think? 1, 2, 3. Sometimes you have to 4, 5, 6. Oh, so this is a trend that is catching on. Oh, who else?
If you have not done that, you don't know that.
Macromanagement? How many are in favor of macromanagement? Combination of both. Okay. So there was a recent article on Wall Street Journal about how, you know who Jamie Dimon is? You know, the guy who heads JP Morgan, the star of Wall Street, the only guy who could, you know, survive through the 2008 crisis and lost $2 billion. So there was this article that how is he trying to get out of that shit by micromanaging stuff. And that article actually highlighted the importance of micromanagement capability even if you are the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. It's very important to know how to pull up your sleeves and get down to business on the floor. It's very important. And see, we read all these good fancy books and textbooks, and they will always tell us, no, you have big thinking and big goals and all of that, which is great. But it is always a combination of macro and micro which drives your business. Never think that I will only look after the big stuff. I have created a company, in 5 years I will sell it for $5 billion and I'll do fishing and I'll play golf and I'll write a book on my success. Doesn't work, sorry. You will have to dirty your hands, you will have to manage your business. But, like I said, working in the business is working on the business. But you'll have to be conscious that you don't get so caught in the business that you stop working on the business. So make it a process. Dedicate a Saturday for that. And then gradually, the number of days in the week when you're working on the business will grow as your business grows. It will naturally happen. You will find people, who do it for you. But you have to focus on it. And finally, it's about you. And I have seen even many successful entrepreneurs who have become reasonably successful. They see entrepreneurship like this. And in fact, it is with this kind of a thinking that we get enamored by the title Build to Sell. Because it is about dream, glamour, huge valuations. We are all products of media driven thinking, right? And that's what media does to us. Day one, IIM best salary package they announce. They never announce how many guys did not get placement, or even if they got placement, what was the salary, right? Of the tail, bottom 20%. To me, it is about this. And it is very important to understand this while you are building the enterprise. It is not about only your dream. Your dream is only meaningful when you are putting in hard work. It is not about glamour. It is about struggle. So anything that you find glamorous about your job, please relook into it. You may be doing the wrong thing. Huge valuations, when huge valuations come out of real earnings. Yeah? Whatever amount of spreadsheets you churn out, unless you show it in the bank, doesn't happen. Nobody will understand. Social recognition. People, I have seen people wasting 4 or 5 years of their life just doing all sorts of things just because they could claim to their friends and family that, well, I have become an entrepreneur and I am working on this great business plan, and I have made this presentation to this VC, and I have made presentation to this investor. I went on that business plan competition, and I was selected to present on TV in this TV program. All the bullshit that goes on. None of that helps. It is about actual on-ground performance of your business. Whatever amount of presentation, whatever amount of business plans you win, doesn't help. If you're not able to translate that business plan into business reality and able to churn out revenues which are profitable revenues. Only revenues don't help, right? And windfalls don't happen. They don't happen. And if you have heard of a story, read in media about a windfall gain, rest assured there is some racket. Even in case of entrepreneurship, if someone has say sold, I am aware of examples where as a kid, I read the story of a guy had a windfall by selling his company to somebody else, and now when I bumped into that guy and I made friends with him, I realized that there was somebody, some public company that wanted to siphon off the money, bought his business for that valuation, gave him 10% of that money, and the promoter of that public limited company took away rest of the money. So what we read in media कि उसने 500 crore में बेच दिया was a farce. So it is not about that. It is about steady growth. And which brings us to value dispatch. So just to take you back, what we are saying is you can't build to sell. You have to build value. Yeah, the only connection between building and selling is value. So we have talked about value drivers. Let me talk about value destroyers, which is the other side of the same coin. Like I said, people run after, they waste their precious time going after investors. They don't need money in the business. They actually don't need. Why they need money? I need to open a fancy office, I need to hire 5 management graduates. But you don't need, you have to do that work yourself. Why do you need 5 management graduates? And then they will burn the cash? Then look out for another investor. I have in last 3 months, I have met 3 young groups of youngsters who are doing exactly the same. They're wasting their time going after investors, not working on the business. Doesn't help. Sexy may not be sexy. So what do you think looks sexy to society, in media or anywhere else, may not be sexy. The most profitable businesses in the world are the most ugliest, in the sense not so sexy looking businesses. You know, like I said, maybe waste management, the dirtiest business on the planet, is the most profitable business. Who knows? So look for, and also the publicity mania. So people, I don't know to what extent, and I would like you to share your experience. Somehow a notion prevails in our minds that the more we publicize our business, the better it will grow. At times, publicity does a lot of damage to your business, especially if the entry barriers to business are low. You want to keep your business, almost a secret till the time you get to a certain size. Why should you be publicizing it to everybody? If you found a nice little lucrative opportunity, enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? Make the hay. But then people go out and all sorts of things. But all that is token entrepreneurship. This is what I call. It's all token entrepreneurship, not it. Road versus media. Like I said, the time you should be spending on the road trying to build your business, you spend with media. Doesn't help. And chasing the money, whether it is investors' money or valuation. So I actually believe that when you're building your business, it's not about money. It's actually not about money. It's about creating that value. It's about creating an enterprise. It's about creating a physical object. It's about that. Unless you focus on that, you will destroy the value. And I referred to this earlier. How many of you have read the book Alchemist? Those who have not, I will recommend that should be your first reading this weekend, and you can finish it over weekend. It's a small book, but you must read it. Entrepreneurship is what the protagonist in that book, the boy, Santiago did. That's entrepreneurship. You read it and then you realize, but then it's about that. It's about going through the hardships to chase your dream, and finally results automatically come. The universe conspires. But it's not about, doing all the fancy stuff. I will own it all. That's another value destroyer. I have seen people, I have seen friends who have created a very, very successful business, but they can't let go. They can't. So what we did along the way, so in 2004 when my partner left, I got 3 or 4 industry professionals and I gave them some equity in the business. And those are the guys who are running the Indian business today. And all of them have realized a lot of value when we exited. But we were able to do that because We broadened our equity base, we got people, we gave them sweat equity, and these are the guys who run the business. And I was able to focus on bigger things, and I was able to focus on expansion while they were delivering day-to-day client stuff. Now, some people keep it close to their chest. So that's another thing. Organization maturity. Google, there's something called organization maturity model. It comes from, that's another theoretical topic. So like Otis 5 forces, I think it's very relevant. And again, I'm not a big fan of those theoretical frameworks, but this one I would recommend. It's called organization maturity model. So what it says is that each organization has multiple levels of maturity. It's a cycle. So when you're level 1, entrepreneur is the business. And when you're level 5, entrepreneur or the leader doesn't matter. Organization works on its own. So and then there are some very specific details of how do you build from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to level 4, level 5. And to me that's very, very critical, that your organization is mature. So what happened, after we sold this 26% stake to Suits, I was still running the Indian business. And I get a call from a friend. He says, मेरा एक दोस्त है यार, वो he is a very bright guy. IIM कोरिकोड का पास आउट है, उसने वहाँ से कुछ इंटरनेशनल प्लेसमेंट लेके 1-2 साल बाहर काम करके आया, फिर उसको एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का कीड़ा काट दिया. तो इधर आके he started a company. He has not been very successful. He is an auto buff. So why don't you meet him? Maybe he is of some use to you. I met this guy, and we figured he was not only from one of the premier business schools, he was probably brightest out of the lot. I really felt he was super. So, but then what we realized is that we had nothing to offer to him. Nothing that could match his caliber, that could match his experience, and that could match his, aspirations in life. So I told him in as many words that you are so good, I have nothing to offer. I run a very small business. I have nothing that would come up to your expectations. And I sent him back. Next day morning, so I run in the morning, and that's the time I generally reflect. So I was running and I was thinking about it, and I said, how on earth do I propose to build a global organization if I turn down talent like this? And I was very uncomfortable. I called him again a couple of days later, and I told him, we have nothing to offer to you, but what if you can become CEO of a $5 million enterprise 2 years from now? Will that excite you? He said, well, I will jump at it. Tell me how. I told him, well, 2 years from now, this is our size will be 25 crores plus. The way it looks like, we will fully merge into this global entity, and I'll move to a global role. What if I hire you and I groom you to take over from me? I had a succession plan in place, but then this guy was so good. He jumped at it. He came on board immediately. And because he had that entrepreneurship experience, he did all the dirty job. He never had that air about him that I will not do this, I will not do that. And eventually when the time came for me to move to a new role, there was this guy ready. And which really, really helped. Which is a component in the organization maturity. Yeah. And then I can do this too, the revenue thing you're talking about. What I have seen is, so a colleague of mine from my Tata days, he called me 2 years ago. I'm starting a company. Okay, what are you starting? Well, we will have these 4 verticals. One is this vertical, and another one is this vertical, and another one is this vertical, and then we will have within this vertical we will have this. I mean, his plan was more complex than IBM. Seriously. And